3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? This is the Undefeated by Choice podcast brought to you by SteelFist. I'm here today with April 26th fight. What is 185? Fight Eric El Diablo Munoz. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How's it going?
Going good, man. First of all, before we get into anything, there's a congrats in order for you, my friend. Newly engaged.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Like a young man.
Yeah, I never thought I'd ever do it again, but hey, never say never. So
You find the right one, you gotta do it, right?
yeah, she's pretty good people. So
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
Yeah, Cassie's cool. And anybody who doesn't know, actually, Cassie and I went to high school together.
Yeah.
So Eric's going after them young.
Hey, she keeps me young, brother. That and training.
Yeah, because we're that much younger than you. Second, congratulations, is you're the first guest ever to have 2 appearances on the Undefeated by Choice podcast.
Nice.
Your first double up. I was considering, I don't know if I should bring you back on because there's definitely showing favoritism because we're teammates. But you got a big fight coming up, so of course we got to get you on the show. One of the first things I always do when I get on the show is I ask people about their nicknames. I love the nicknames. I love the origin story of the nicknames. Yours, El Diablo. Where did it come from? How'd you get it? Who gave it to you? Let's hear it.
I didn't even think about needing a nickname or anything. I just got my first fight, and Foley came up to me right before we walked out. I said, "Oh, by the way, you're El Diablo. They're going to announce you that way when we walk out." And I was like, all right, I'm good with that. And it just stuck. It stayed with it. I was able to, come up with some designs and, sell T-shirts and just kind of, it kind of helped fit. I got the right kind of tattoos and everything else like that. So, it just, it kind of stuck. And now my son, he's kind of coming along with the same thing, with the same kind of, similar name, following the El Diablo.
What is it? What is his? What's he going with?
I can't remember what he said it was. Something in the same in the same range of like El Diablo, like El Diablo Jr. or something like that, that kind of stuff. So, but he's coming along and he's training hard too. So we're both ready to be on this fight card, and first time ever father son on a card. So
I know
that's a special event too. Yeah. It almost happened on Mountain Force card, but my son, his opponent didn't show up. Apparently, he
had a baby that day or something.
Had a baby
or something. The day of weigh-in.
Poor planning, I guess. Yeah. But we're gonna make it happen this time.
Yeah. Now we'll get a little bit more into that. I love that you got your nickname from Dave. Dave comes up with some funny stuff, man. I wish he would give me my nickname, and he's got one of the best nicknames of all time.
Man, Disco Dave.
That's great. That fits him. And then he's got that disco ball hanging up in the gym, which is it's great having that. So we all know El Diablo means fighting chicken.
Yeah, not quite.
All right. Cool. Now, you and I have been teammates now for about 3 years, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Do you remember our first meeting?
I think it's when we kind of all, like, Pat brought us all together. I think that's when it was, because we'd kind of all been just kind of training separately before that, and just, every once in a while, we spar or do some drills or something together. But then Pat saw how discombobulated we was, and he's like, nah, man, we got to get this put together. And so when he put us all together, I think that's when we really started to know who each other was. And so it's probably been 3, maybe 4 years ago. No,
it was 3 because it was right before my daughter was born. She just barely turned 3, so it was right before she was born. I remember, those who don't know, Pat Reeves was our first coach.
Right.
And he's the one that brought, like you said, he's the one that brought us all together. Now, the way I remember it is I was showing up to the gym, taking a few classes from Dave, and just learning how to throw a jab, learning how to throw, anything. And I went one day and I was kind of doing my own little conditioning thing, and I was just like picking up like one of those like spare heavy bags he had laying around. I'd like pick it up and run from like one end of the the wrestling mat to the other, and like throw it down and do some like burpees or something, just trying to do something. And finally Dom came out and was like, hey, come up here with us. Like, you look like you're athletic. Pat says he wants you to come up here with us. So that's how I was brought into the pack. Was Pat saw me and said, like, we need some size, we need some bigger bodies in here. You come up here, you train with us now. So he pulled me up in there, and it took me, I don't know, it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks before I even started sparring with you guys. I would just come and do the classes, but I was terrified to spar with you guys. And I remember my first time sparring you was one of the scarier moments, because I knew Pat was going to take it easy on me. And Dom just kind of was so fast, and like, but I think he looked at me as like a little buddy, and so he was like taking it easy on me, but I had no idea who you were. And I was like, this dude, I would see you in practice just bite down on that mouthpiece and just start throwing, and I was like, this dude's gonna kill me. So I was pretty terrified of you in our first interactions. But sparring with you now, I mean, that's what you're my favorite one to spar with, because we just, we go at it.
Yeah.
When you first started, how did you first get into it? Because you were
so
before
actually,
me, right?
My son that's going to be fighting on this card, Jordan, he wanted to train to fight, and I think he was just 18, 19 years old or something like that, and so he wanted to train to fight. So we started going to Foley's, because that was the only place that we knew of, in the area that taught both, all the styles and stuff. So we started going there, and I noticed they had a lot of classes going on and different things, but I noticed they didn't really have a wrestling coach. And so what I ended up doing was I volunteered my time to help teach some wrestling during the time. That's when I met Pat Reeves for the first time. And so with me teaching wrestling and Pat teaching us jiu-jitsu, we kind of just combined together and worked together on different things. And I remember that was the first time I tapped out Pat. And you can't tap Pat out. Right. But he took me too lightly, and I got him in my favorite shoulder choke, and I got him for the first time. And after that, he ain't never let me choke him out again. Never again. And so Jordan wanted to train, so we started training there and everything like that. And then he ended up finding some other stuff to do and kind of wandered off. And I stayed there, wrestling and training. And a lot of the guys, I went to their fights and everything like that. And I would watch a lot of guys fight, and then I'm like, man, I really think I could get in there and do it, but I was like, man, I'm just too old. I'm too old to get in there and do it. I mean, I was already 38 years old, 39. Yeah. And so I asked Foley, I said, hey, do you think I'm too old to fight? And he's like, no way, bro. You're like my age. We'll get you a fight. Well, I was weighing like 240. Yeah. And so he got me a fight on a Jennifer Horn card out of the fairgrounds for my first fight. But it was at 190 catch weight. And it was against some kid down from Cedar City. His name is Jeff. And they showed me some pictures of this kid, and this kid didn't look like he should even fight. I mean, he didn't look like a fighter in his pictures and everything like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got this. I can do this. So that's the first time I learned how to do a real diet since high school, when I had to, cut weight for wrestling. Yeah. And I managed to get it. I managed to make weight and everything like that. We go to weigh-ins. This kid shows up, he's cut up, he's ripped, he's everything. I'm like, this ain't the same kid as in the picture. Yeah, catfished. Yeah, and so all of a sudden reality starts sinking in. I could probably die in there. Like, I'm terrified. And up until about 4 hours before the fight, I thought I was doing pretty good with it. And then I got that, oh man, this is about to be real. I got sick, felt like I was going to throw up. And I went out there, and I had no idea what he knew. They were just saying he trained out of his garage and everything like that. He comes out with a Muay Thai kickboxing style, and I'm thinking, oh man, all I got is my wrestling. So that's what I did. I wrestled him all 3 rounds. Took him down, ground and pound, stood us up, did it over and over again. It's the longest fight of my life, and I've had some 5-rounders, and they didn't seem like they were that long as this 3-rounder. I ended up winning the fight. I had all the kids that I'd been coaching for years that were at the fight. It was a big venue, and I had a lot of people there because the tickets were fairly cheap. So, I probably had 300, 400 people there for me. And so even the announcer said, man, I've never heard it be this loud for a first fight. So he actually let me talk on the microphone and everything like that, and it just stuck. Yeah. It stuck from there. And it just kind of went on. And then I just, instead of just picking whoever anymore, it was like, if a fight came up and they offered it, I took it. I didn't care who it was. And that was just the mentality that's kind of stuck this whole time. And so, I continue just to fight whoever wants to fight. You can be the number 1, you can be the number 10, it doesn't matter, but my thing is I don't go out searching for somebody I know I can beat. Yeah. I go and I fight people that, that are a good challenge for me. You know, what's the purpose of, you know, working so hard and training so hard to go in there and just to annihilate somebody that you're supposed to annihilate. You're supposed to go against, you know. So if you look at a lot of my fights, I mean, I've fought pretty much everybody in the top 10.
Yeah.
And so I figured, well, you know, I fought them all, win, lose, draw, whatever's happened, you know, time to move on. I never thought I'd go pro. You know, I'm 43 years old. I'm one of the oldest guys out there fighting, and I still feel like I'm in my 30s, so I feel good.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is coming from your training. I think, I mean, you've stepped up your training. I brought this up in my last interview with Cole, because I feel like after, or the fight leading up to Cole was when you flipped a switch.
I had to. I knew who he was, man, and I was like, this is one of the biggest opponents I'm ever going to have.
Yeah.
And even though I should have treated every single fight the same way, there was a switch that had to be switched with him, and I trained 4 or 5 hours a day, I mean, nonstop. I mean, I knew that this guy was on your diet. Was you switched to a new diet? That's when you started going keto, right? Yeah. My girlfriend, she kind of got the right thing down of how to do it all and everything like that, and she got me on it. And when I finally stuck to it, because it's easy to do for a couple of days or a week, but then you cheat, you know what I mean? And so finally, when I stuck to it, and then finally all of a sudden started to come off, and I had abs, and I had like muscles I didn't know I had, and everything like that. It was just more motivation to stay on it. And so I continue to do somewhat of a keto diet to this day, just to try to keep my weight down, because I don't want to walk at 220 anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I want to stay around 200 or less.
Yeah.
So the cuts aren't so hard. And then, you know, nobody enjoys taking off their shirt and going, I'm not happy with what I see, you know what I mean? So, you know, I train hard, I try to eat right, and, you know, I want to look good for, you know, especially, you know, being 43, you know, if I walk around, a lot of kids are like, I can't believe how old you are.
Yeah, for real.
You know, so.
And then watching you train, and you know, watching what you can do and what you do in the cage. I mean, you've also added more to your training as far as where you train, because it was originally it was all pack, it was all us at Foley's,
right?
But now you're going out to One Hit and training with those guys somewhat.
I train out at One Hit and go against the studs out there. I mean, everybody knows One Hit's got some of the best fighters in the state, you know, guys that are UFC bound, Bellator fighters, you know, just guys that have been around for a while. And if you know anybody about One Hit, you know, if you go there, you got to be ready to be on your toes, because, you know, their sparring is legit. I mean, those guys, they're going to come at you. They don't necessarily take it easy on you. You know, everybody trains hard, they spar hard. And if you're not ready, you know, you're going to come out of there a lot sore than you was when you got in there. And so I put in some time there, trying to put some extra time in with Lucas Montoya and try to get some jiu-jitsu in on the weekends. And then also I've been helping out at Team Link with Eric Munoz and a couple of his camps. I've helped him out. He's helped me out. I work out with Bryce Scanlon, who's actually, you know, out of KOA most of the time, but he's kind of bounced around a little bit too. So get a little bit of everybody, just so I can, you know, just perfect each style, or, you know, or get better in each style. I don't think I'm ever going to perfect everything before I'm done fighting, but I just trying to get better and better every day in every style that I have, you know.
Well, I mean, it's shown in every single one of your fights. You know, that as you've gone through this. I mean, you had the battle with Cole Schaefer. I mean, it was a straight up battle, and I got on him when I interviewed him. I don't know if you watched it, but I was like, bro, you didn't shoot. That's all we practiced. Why did you not shoot, man? Why did you shoot?
I totally expected him to wrestle me in that
I was like, I went through all that in camp. I was like, I was more exhausted than anybody in that whole camp, because I'm not a wrestler, and I had to learn how to become a wrestler to help Eric get ready for you shooting on him. You didn't shoot once. He's like, it's because we know that's all you guys practice, so you wanted to give him something else. And you've had you're 3-1 in every fight after that, and I think they've all been first round finishes, right?
Yeah, so
you went up to the short nose fight up in Wyoming, was it?
Yeah, so I went up to Casper, Wyoming. Rowdy Akers hit me up, said, "Hey man, I got a guy that you should take on. You should come up here and just take this fight." And I'm like, you know, I think it was like only 2 weeks after I just fought.
It was 2 weeks.
And so I'm like, well, where's Casper, Wyoming? He's like, oh, it's not that far of a drive. And then we got on the drive and go, it's like 7-hour drive. And I couldn't get off of work because it was a short notice fight. It was a 3-day notice fight.
Right.
I couldn't get off of work, so I worked it out with the promotion up there that I could weigh in the next day.
Oh.
So we drove after work all night long. Me and my girlfriend and my son was with me. We drove all the way into Casper. Woke up in the morning, ate breakfast. Didn't even know I was eating breakfast next to my opponent. He was happened to be sitting there, and I'm like, man, that's a big kid over there.
Yeah.
It was my opponent, and it was a 205 fight. And apparently, the kid was a really good boxer, does bare knuckle fights and everything like that, so he could throw down. Of course, I don't know nothing about the guy, and I do my own weigh-ins and everything like that. So then it comes down to the fight, and it's a whole different environment to fight out in Wyoming. I mean, there's not a whole lot of different. You can chill with your family in the audience, watch the other fights beforehand.
Really?
Wander around. You didn't have to be stuck
backstage?
in a locker room.
No commission?
Yeah, well, there's a commission, but they were just real lax. They allowed you to kind of, mingle with everybody and kind of do everything. And when it came close to your fight, you just had to be ready to go.
Yeah.
What threw me off guard and what I got lucky with was that I brought my MMA gloves because they didn't supply them. So had I not had my own MMA gloves, I'd have been in a lot of trouble. But I had them and then got into the fight. And, that terror just sinks in because he's a monster. The guy I'm going against is a big old dude. So he comes out and throws a kick. I'm like, I thought this guy's a boxer. He throws a kick, and then all of a sudden he throws this wide-ranging right hand. So I just swept underneath it, took him to the ground, and then kept him to the ground and pound. And I think it was like 60 seconds. The fight was over.
Yeah, I remember you came back and you're like, I don't know what happened. Dude, it was the easiest fight ever.
Yeah, so it was my first TKO, and I was pretty stoked for it. Get in, get out, and had a good time. And Casper's a nice town, man. It's a nice town. I just wish it wasn't so far away.
and then quickly after that, we had the Pat Reeves Memorial fight against Max Riddle, and I'm still hurting over that because I think I know you won that fight.
Yeah, it was a tough fight.
It was a battle. I mean, all credit to Max, good fighter. I just I was in your corner, and what I saw, what I was watching on my card, you won the fight.
Yeah.
So
it was it was his shorter stature was kind of hard to deal with. I've only fought a couple guys that were short like him, but his shots were legit. I mean, his timing was legit. He was able to get under every single punch that I threw. So I mean, I give him the takedowns all day long. He got the takedowns. But what I don't think I got a lot of credit for was the reversals. I reversed almost every single takedown. We got on our feet, and when it come to contact, I think I pretty much caught him with more shots to the face and to the body than he got me. But all in all, I knew it was a close fight, and I knew that last round I was gonna have to knock him out or do something to make it, but it is what it is. So
and you caught him with the Munoz. We're not gonna say what it is, but those who train with Eric know what the Munoz is, and you caught him with it.
Yeah, he felt that. I know that.
It's funny because I admit I've been hating on the Munoz. Not that I don't think it's funny, but I'm like, you ain't gonna knock anybody out with that. Then you caught him with it and it stumbled him, and I look at Dom, and Dom's like, hit her with the Munoz. I was like, shit. So you proved me wrong. You proved me wrong. I like to see the Munoz come out again. And then you had 2 first round. After that, you've had 2 first round. I believe they're both first round finishes with the choke, your favorite choke.
Yeah.
And so I mean, since that Cole Schaefer fight, we've seen a change in your training, and it's been showing out in your fights. And it just it's crazy to see what just a change in your training can do for you. And man, like always that thought of, man, if you had started this just a little bit sooner, where would you be? But it's just awesome to see where you're at right now.
Well, and I think some of it too is when we lost Pat, I still felt his presence. I still felt him there. And so even when I go to the gym, I can still hear him yelling at me. You're not doing it right. Keep your head up. Put your arms back. Do this, do that. So I still see him there. I still feel his presence. And I almost feel like he's a part of me when I go into the fights. Like he's my footwork's better now. I had horrible footwork,
right?
And my jabs are coming out faster, and different things are coming out faster. I'm like, is he like jumping into my body and helping me fight? Because also now I can switch southpaw a little bit. Pat was a southpaw, and just things are just coming and clicking better. And I know it has a lot to do with training and everything like that, but I think there's a little bit of me that thinks Pat's still there and he's helping us kind of come along and in every one of our fights. And so I think about him every day, and he's the only reason why we're all still fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because without him, I think we would all fizzled out a long time ago.
For sure. I kind of was like, I needed a break. I needed to get away from it. And he was like, he wasn't mad. He was like, hey man, I love you. Actually, when I texted him, and I was like, I need to step away for a minute. Like my daughter I was getting to the point where I was getting her a lot, and so I couldn't be training all the time, and I was just I was stressed out about a bunch of stuff, and I was like, bro, I gotta step away. And instead of being like, no, you got all this talent, and instead of really, he called me and was like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Like he just wanted to check on me and make sure I was okay. And I know for myself, what I feel like when I feel like I'm closest to Pat is like when we're sparring and it's in between and I start dancing when the music's playing, because that was like Pat's thing. Like he's always like, if you can dance, you can fight. And so he'd be like, you gotta do the rhythm to the music, and you'd be out there sparring with him and his body would be moving to whatever song was on. So I was like, please don't be a fast song.
Yeah, a lot of what my songs that I do now, when I do my walkout songs, have a lot to do with what he's taught us. Before I used to come out to like screamer songs, headbanging songs, and that's not even my style. Like that's not even me. I don't really even listen to that kind of music. But it was kind of angry music. You wanted to come out angry. You wanted to show. Yeah. And now it's more like calm, and the beat and the bass and everything like that, and get you kind of feeling nice and relaxed before you get into the fight. And I've learned being relaxed and being able to focus and concentrate and be able to breathe in there helps tremendously, versus being all tense and wired and just ready to kill yourself, or kill the opponent.
Yeah.
And in 30 seconds you can't do anything because you just ran out your gas tank. And so songs and music has a lot to do with our training.
Yeah.
And whenever we have good songs on, and somebody picks up on that beat, it's going to be a good sparring session. So
I know you ain't feeling it when Capoeira's playing.
Well,
this week you were just like,
their own, right?
This week you were just like, Capoeira, man. It's just playing in the background. One of the things that I noticed with you that I feel like, oh man, he got that from Pat, and I have no idea how either of you do it, but it's in the back in the locker room. You are the most calm fighter in the locker room. You're cracking jokes, you're smiling, you're chilling. I tell everybody every time, like, Eric is my favorite person to corner because I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm out watching the other fights. I'm like standing out, and you all come in. You good? Yeah, I'm good, man. You're just like, yeah. Why you bother me? I'm good. Yeah. And you're chatting with everybody, and you're helping other people out. You're showing them something and some wrestling, something in the back. Like, you're always the most calm in the back. And like every fighter in the world wants to know that secret. How you remain so calm going into what you're just about to do.
Well, pretty much is the way I look at it now is that there's not a whole lot more that I can do. I'm not going to go and learn something new right before the fight. I mean, pretty much everything I've done up to that point, I've done, and there's not a whole lot new that I would do, you know what I mean? So there's no point of kind of worrying about it and stressing about, well, what if he does this or what if he does that, because it doesn't really matter. The only thing you got control over what you can do and what you've trained on. And you just go out there and work on what you do, and if that's good enough to win the fight, then that's all you can do. So, to me, to be back there and be calm is more beneficial to me than to be back there and sweating and worrying about it, and having this adrenaline, rises and falls and all this other stuff that happens to. I've seen people do it.
Yeah.
I've literally seen people crying before their fights because they've just gotten so stressed out and so amped up. The only bad thing I don't like being back there is, now that I've fought and had so many fights, is the time. It's just so long. You got to be there at 5 o'clock, and you're not fighting until 10 o'clock at night.
Because now that you're pro, you're always one of the last fights of the card, so you're out in there the whole time.
The days of getting there and the first fight and you're one and done and get out of there, I guess those are pretty much gone unless they switch it up somehow. But yeah, it's and I think it comes from years of wrestling. I mean, I've been wrestling for 40 years, ever since I was little.
Yeah.
And and you go to tournaments and you just have to be ready, and so you just take a nap and they say you're up, you get up, you go wrestle, and then you go take a nap again, and so I think part of that has to do with where I had the wrestling background and everything, and then teaching people. I've been a coach for a long time too. I mean, I've coached football and soccer and wrestling, and so when I see people struggling or things not going right, I think I picked a little bit up from Pat too, because Pat used to do the same thing. He was like, if somebody's holding mitts wrong, he would just get so frustrated and be like, listen, give me those mitts. And he would show the person how to do it in the back, so at least they didn't look so awkward or out of whack. And so I see the same thing with people, and they're struggling, especially the new guys. They're terrified, and we've all been there. We've started from the beginning, and so you want to help them out, and that's the kind of guy I am, I guess.
Yeah. No, I just, it's always impressed me. And again, it's always made me just enjoy cornering you. Because I remember the first time I cornered you, I was like, I got to be back here with him the whole time. I got to be like paying attention to him. And you were like, it was so boring because you were just like, oh, nah, I'm good. Now, like, you want to warm up? No. Not yet. No, go away. And I know that, and I almost am like, man, we gotta be bugging everybody else back here, because now that I know what it's like with you back there, you're cracking jokes, I'm cracking jokes. You have other coaches back there trying to keep their fighter in the moment, in the zone, and you and me and you are just like trying to have conversations. And I'm like, yo, we're just talking. It's always so fun to be back there, and it's just so easy to coach to corner you, but like I said, I know there's fighters all around the world that are like, how do I do that? Because for, like you said, you've seen them cry. For most of them, that is the worst part, is being back there, what's about to happen, the fear that sets in, right? And you even said in that Wyoming fight, there was terror that set in, but I guarantee you, anybody who was back there with you would have never seen that in you, would have never seen that for 1 second.
And I knew that the one thing I knew about that kid was that he had no ground game. He had no wrestling. So, I mean, that just went back to my game plan, and I've noticed that if I stick to my wrestling, I tend to have better outcomes. Yeah. And so when I try to switch it up and say, well, I want to stay and bang on this fight, and I want to do this and this fight, and I do that, it all reverts back to my wrestling when I end up getting in trouble in the fight. Yeah. And so I just started getting to the mentality, I'm a wrestler. I'm a wrestler from day one. Yeah. I'm going to be a wrestler till I go down. Yeah. If I get in a brawl and I have to throw down, I know that I can hang. Yeah. But in the end run, I'm a wrestler, and that's just who I am, and I'm not going to change that. So when I have that mentality, I tend to do a little bit better in my fights. So. Yeah,
it's funny to me how many people do not get that though. How many people have we seen that were specialists in one area, and they got proficient in another area, and they decided they wanted to abandon their old game plan, and then they just go on losing streaks. Yeah. For you to recognize, like, hey, this is what I am, and I can do everything else. I'm going to work on everything else, and I hope to be proficient in every other aspect. But when it comes down to it, this is where I go. Once you started doing that, your fights changed dramatically. I mean, you've gone up against killer wrestlers, and you've always held your own against them. I mean, even at one point, you and Cole were on the ground, and it's not like he did anything to you on the ground, right? And then you mentioned your fight with Max, where it was, him taking you to shot after shot after shot after shot after shot, and you were either reversing or standing right back up. There wasn't, very many times in the fight where he got top control and he kept top control. But even when he did, he wasn't doing a whole lot from top control. So, that's got to be the key. The point I want to get across to everybody is, everyone's going to be good at something. Stick with that. Right. Like, stop trying to become something that you're not. And you win fights if you stick with what you're good at. Learn other things, but stick with what you're good at. Exactly. And then you're going to move forward. Outside of fighting, you are in a profession that most fighters are not in. Like, you're in a very unique profession outside of fighting. What is it that you do?
I'm a registered nurse, so I was ICU nurse for 7 years, and then for 2 years I went and did surgeries where, recover patients and get them ready for surgery. Every once in a while, I'll go in the back and help the doctors out, with, closing them up and pulling a hip out, or, fixing a knee or something like that. And then But when I switched to that, because when I was an ICU nurse, I worked 312s, so I had a lot of days off, so I could get awesome training in.
Yeah.
When I went to these guys and did the surgery, they offered, oh yeah, we'll work with your schedule. You'll be able to get out of here, get to training and everything like that. And I was getting there at 4 a.m. and leaving at 11 at night. And I'm like, this ain't working, man.
No.
You guys said you were going to work with me. And so I got an offer to go to a different job working in cardiology with all the doctors I used to work with at the hospital, but now it'd be in an office setting and work a 9 to 5. The fact to work every single day of the week, I didn't like the fact of that, but to know that when I had to be to work and when I can go home,
right,
I can set a schedule around that. And so it's worked for me in that aspect, so we can set our schedules up, because most people work some type of a 9 to 5, and they can't really get to training until after 5 or anyway. So I mean, it just worked out. And so if some people can't get there till a little bit later, then I'll go do some other training before we do our training together. So kind of the same thing that I did with Pat for a long time. We'd always go and hit absolute first, get our weights in, then go beat each other up, or go over drills, or go over jiu-jitsu or whatever we needed to do. And it's the same kind of mentality that I'm still trying to stick with the guys that are still sticking around, the guys that want to fight, including my son. And he's got friends that want to fight, and I get hit up all the time about can you train this guy, can you help us out, we want to be fighters. But it's all about consistency, and you see a lot of guys that want to do it until they get into the ring with you and they start realizing, well, I got a long ways to go. I don't know if I really want to put all my eggs in this basket, and then you don't see the guys again.
I can't. So, I mean, I can't even count how many guys have come in that want to be part of the pack and then leave. Never come
last
back.
A couple of days. That's about it.
No, I just wanted to point out, what your profession outside of this, because so many fighters are just working for that goal to become full-time fighters.
Mm-hmm.
They're working for that. But and then a lot of people think, oh, the fighters are just dumb brutes. But I mean, you're former military, you're a registered nurse. I mean, you're educated. I mean, it's not all about just these, Neanderthals in there wanting to beat each other up.
Right.
There's some educated people, and it takes the educated ones. It takes the ones with the brain to become the good fighters.
Right.
You got to learn how to study. I mean, you've talked a few times about not knowing anything about your fighter, but outside of, not having any information on them, you study your fighters more than any other fighter I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. You know everybody and what everyone's good at. I come to you all the time, hey, so-and-so's fighting so-and-so, what do you think? Oh, he fought him, and this guy's good at this guy's good at that. Is that part of, growing up, being educated, knowing how to study, going through school? Or where do you get that?
Well, I think just being in the fight community and going to multiple fights and cornering a lot of fighters, and having a lot of fights myself, I'll see a lot of these kids that are out there fighting, and so I'll see the fights, and I don't need to watch it on YouTube or whatever. I'll remember who they are because I've been there. In fact, I've even helped some of them out, and now they're fighting, opponents of mine or our own teammates or whatever like that. And in the past, I've seen them terrified, and I've seen them not know what they wanted to do, and I've been the one that helped them in the back and everything like that. And so, it's all about just, we're in a tight-knit community, the fighters, what I mean? In Utah, it's not a huge population, and, there's only so many promotions around, so a lot of times you see a lot of these guys fighting, so you don't really have to do much study on them. A lot of times you'll see them and you'll talk to them, and even most of the guys that I fought in the past, we're all friends now, you know what I mean? And I don't ever have to challenge them again or whatever. There's only one guy I fought twice, and that's Alonzo, you know what I mean? And he stepped up both times to fight me. He wasn't even my main opponent. So, props to him, that he's able to step up, and, we win some, we lose some, you know what I mean? But, most of my knowledge comes from not necessarily studying film or studying tape, but being there. Just being live. There. Being there live and seeing what they are like in the back, and see what they're like in the cage, One thing I've seen in a lot of fights is that a guy could be a stud in training and just not show up in the cage. It's a whole different atmosphere when all eyes are on you like that, and some people they don't perform as well as they would just when they're just sparring, and so and that's something that I don't know if you can teach people how to get over that, or how to get better at that, or what, or vice versa. They don't do much in practice, so then they're going there and annihilating the cage. It's just It's just the way it is.
Some people are practice players, and some people are game time players.
Exactly.
You actually brought up a good point. And I've been wanting to figure out how to approach this because obviously my association with SteelFist is I want to get butts in seats, but. So I never wanted to approach this and make it sound like I'm trying to do a sales pitch to get for any other reason but to get butts in seats. But I've always thought if you're a fighter, you need to be going to the local fights, and there's not that many, especially in Utah. There's not a ton of promotions. You can make it to most of the fights,
right?
And there's so many reasons why every fighter should be every weekend or every week there's a fight going out to the fights.
Right.
You're looking at potential opponents. You're looking at different styles. Also, you're supporting your community. We're a smaller community, and we need to be supporting each other better.
Right.
Like even when I decided I wasn't going to take another fight, I 100% am going to support the MMA community always, and go out to the fights that I can make it out to always, because I support all of you in what you're doing. I want you guys to do good. I want you guys to make money. Well, you're only going to make money if there's butts in seats.
Right.
And so when I go out to these events and I don't see like the entire camp of a fighter that's there in the crowd, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what's the disconnect here? You want them to support you. You want people to support you, but then you're not coming out and supporting another fighter. And that's always been my hang up. But what you pointed out, you being there to see what they're like live, these potential opponents of yours or potential opponents of people that you work with, you're educated on these fighters because you're there, you're watching them, you know what they're like in the cage, you know what their actual speed is like. Seeing someone's speed on a camera and seeing someone's speed in real life are two different things. And so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought up the point of your knowledge comes from actually being there at the event, because I think so many more fighters need to be supporting other fighters, and especially at the local events, they need to be there. So I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to bring this up. You already brought it up, said we'd get back to it. Your son fighting on the card. What is that like, knowing you're about to go watch your son get into his first legal fist fight?
Well, like I said, I've been coaching him in wrestling since he was like 5 years old, and he was a really, really good wrestler and had a lot of potential. We went all over the place wrestling, and including to nationals in Colorado and everything like that. And he wrestled for some really good coaches at Weber High School. Some of the best coaches in the state are from that school, and so he had a lot of potential. He beat a lot of big names. He'd go in and against a lot of kids that are on the national stage right now. He went against, and he did pretty good against them. But so it's a long time waiting. I was expecting these fights to happen years ago when he wanted to start. So now that we're back into it, and he's training hard, and he's lifting hard, and he's working hard, and he's dealing with what fighters deal with on a daily basis, bumps and bruises, and man, this is tough, And then, then you got the other part of it. You got your life, you got your job, you got to take care of your family. He's got a new baby, so that makes me a grandpa. You know what I mean? So
I never put that together.
It makes me feel even that much
That's
older.
your new nickname.
Yeah.
Eric the Grandpa Munoz.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he's pretty stoked for the fight. And, I could have lined him up with somebody who was an 0-0 kid with no fights or whatever like that. But I said, what's the point,
Right.
We got to live and we got to learn, right? So let's go in there and let's go bang with somebody who's had a couple fights already. So the kid he's going against is a pretty decent fighter, and he has wrestling. Yeah. So it's wrestler versus wrestler. But, with Jordan not having any fights in the cage, actually, just yet. So he's kind of somewhat at a disadvantage because he hasn't had that experience yet. But I've seen him outside of that, and he's performed at a high level with, some of the best kids around, and so I think he'll do well. Yeah. I don't have any doubts that he can go in there and make a good fight and come out of there, win, lose or draw, but come out of there with his head held high and say, what, I did what I needed to do, and let's move on to the next one, and he's got that mentality like me, next guy up, Yeah. But we're focused on this kid now, and see how it goes. And like I said, he's in there training as hard as he can for as much time as he can with dealing with family stuff like just everybody else does.
No, I mean he's one of those. I mean, we got our little group team group message, and he's always on it, like who's up for training, and he's got good support. He's got a couple guys close to his size that are work with him, and then he's got beasts that go in there that he go they got 100 pounds on him that are coming in between me and you and Justin, and he's getting a good look, and he's always down. He's reaching out to us, which is what you want to see as a coach. You want to see your fighter being like, hey, who's showing up today? So he's gonna be one of those I'm super excited to see. I'm excited to see where he goes from here, because if he has your mentality, because I've never seen you be one to sulk. I've never seen you be one to hang your head after a loss. You're like, that sucked, man. I thought I had it, And too many fighters have this, like, if I lose, I'm done. If I lose, I'm out.
They disappear, go MIA for 6 months, and then finally, they come back and they get back into the swing of things, and then they'll get a couple of wins or something like that, and they're back for a little bit, and then we see it.
I've seen it in all sports I've ever done. And growing up playing football, I've seen that with a ton of kids. You have a good game and you're the best player. You have a bad game and all of a sudden you want to quit the team.
Right.
And I've never seen that out of you. And I'm pretty sure. I mean, your kids. All of your kids seem to have a very similar mentality to you. Right. And so win, lose, or draw. We're gonna see Jordan. Jordan's gonna keep going, and again, he grew up competing. He grew up wrestling. Win, lose, or draw, he kept showing up to practice.
Exactly.
So I'm so excited to see, and that's why I'm glad you put him up against a tougher opponent to start out with. Didn't give him an easy one. Gave him one that he could possibly lose to, but he's only gonna make him better, right? Because now he knows what he's got to work on. But it's also one of those things. You also put him up against someone that he could easily go out and get that win. He works his ass off. Boy works his ass off. So I'm excited to see that one. I was thinking ahead of time, like, was Eric one of those dads that was like at the barbecues being like, yo, my kid can beat up your kid? Like,
no, I mean, we've always been pretty humble. We back each other up when we need to back each other up. We fight when we have to fight. I mean, we're never out there trying to pick fights with anybody, but if somebody ends up picking a fight with us, you better watch out who you're picking a fight with, because you just never know who that person is. You can be a humble person but still kick somebody's ass. You
guys do exude that personality. Like I never am. I go out with you. We go out on the weekends. I'm never like, Eric's gonna get into something. But then I know if we get into something, Eric's gonna be there. Eric's got it. So it's always nice to know we got friends like you. All right, so let's get into it. You got to fight. You got to fight, my friend, April 26th against Nick Martinez. Mm-hmm. We don't know nothing about him. No, we don't know much about him. He's 4-4.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, 4-4.
I think so. That's the record I looked up.
I think most of his fights were back in the UCE days. That's when he first started coming out. So he started pro. I don't think there was an amateur back then.
Okay.
And then I remember then he came back and he ended up fighting Joe Rodriguez. I think it was one of Joe's first pro fights or close to it. Joe was able to handle business with them, got it taken care of. And then I don't remember who he's fought after that, but I remember he fought Andy Witt before I fought Andy Witt. And he was able to finish Andy in the first round, and so and just so was I. So I don't know a whole lot about him. I've seen that he's won like some jiu-jitsu tournaments, some local tournaments, I think at like a white belt level or low level jiu-jitsu tournament. So he has. I'm sure he has some ground game. I don't know much else about where he trains or what he's doing. I just know who he's associated with, and then just. Like I said, I can't worry about too much about what he knows or what he does. I just got to focus on what I know and what I do, and then hopefully that turns out in the fight in my favor. So that's kind of how I go about most of it. I try to learn a little bit about somebody just so I don't get caught out on surprise. But it's called mixed martial arts for a reason. So if a guy's a wrestler and he comes out and kicks you in the head, and you're not expecting a kick. You got to just be ready, hands up, keep, be ready for a punch, ready for a kick, ready for a shot, whatever happens, just got to be ready for it. And then I just, I want to show that I'm going to stay offensive in the fight. I want to show that I got good cage control. I want to show that I'm going to come after him and get him thinking about what am I going to do? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of more like most of my fights. I try that mentality. Sometimes that guy fires at you first, and you have to go to defense.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So we'll see how it goes. But you know, I've been training hard, so I don't see myself gassing out anytime soon. I can go 3 rounds, 5 rounds, 10 rounds. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean. I'll go as many rounds as they allowed us to do.
Yeah.
And you know, try to get this win.
Yeah, this is one of those fights that it could either be, since you're both from the outside, you know, looking at what you guys have done, what you guys have accomplished. It could easily be one of those fights that's going to be a ground game. Mm-hmm. But it's also one of those where your ground game could cancel out each other, so then you just end up standing up and banging.
Right.
And so this is one of those fights that's interesting to see exactly what's going to happen. The chess match that's going to go down.
Right.
Is it going to be, okay, well, let's see who's more proficient on the ground, since you both have history of ground game, or is it you cancel each other out, so then you stand up and bang?
Right.
And this is, you know, obviously it's one of those that's super exciting to see, because the tell is there's no tell beforehand. You know, if you get 2 strikers, you know what the fight is beforehand.
Right.
You know what you're walking into. With you two, with the situation that you're walking into right now, you don't know. The game plan changes on the fly. The
right.
game plan changes according to what's going on in the fight. Mm-hmm. And those are fun to watch, because that's when you see high level mixed martial arts.
Right. Because
you get to see, I don't just go to a game plan and stick with that game plan, but I got to make decisions on the fly, and that's when in my opinion, that's when you get to see the best fights.
Right.
And so, you know, this is one that anybody who is a fight fan and wants to see a chess match, this is one you go. This is a fight you go to see. This is one you want to get excited for. I'm definitely excited for it, and it's more than just I know you, I train with you, I want to see you win. I'm a fan of fights.
Right.
I'm a fan of fights, and so this is one of those that I can absolutely get behind and get excited for, because this is what this is going to be. So,
right.
So, let's see. I think so. I had a. Well, I wanted you to tell this funny story before we get on to anything else. I had this story. It makes me laugh. I don't know if it makes everyone else laugh. And I don't even think it's legal for this to happen. But when we're talking about you being a nurse, mm-hmm. There's actually a situation where you had to fight, where you were fighting Alden. Ashcraft, yeah. And you had to do his medicals before the fight. Will you tell that story?
Well, yeah. Well, they the doctor was there, and they were supposed to have somebody doing blood pressures, but they didn't know how to do them. And so, just to kind of get the fight going and get it all taken care of, I jumped down there and I started doing everybody's blood pressure so the doctor could get the numbers, right? Uh-huh. So I ended up having to take Alden's blood pressure, and we were both looking at each other like, this is super awkward, man. This is like, I'm like, whatever, it is what it is, man. You know, a fight's a fight. You're going to get it done and everything like that. And, you know, that was one of the coldest fights I've ever fought in. We fought outside. I swear it had to be 30 degrees. It was freezing. Everybody's in coats and gloves, and we're out there fighting in nothing but shorts. You know what I mean? And it was a cold fight. And you know, I'm glad I never have to do that again. I'm hoping I never have to do that again. But yeah, that was super awkward to have to do that. But you know, Alden's a good kid. He's a good fighter. Wish him the best. You know what I mean? So he's done really well after that fight. You know, after that fight, he's got quite a few little wins on his streak. So I mean, he's probably going to end up going pro sometime soon.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's just they're lucky for both of you that you both have the personalities that you have. You're both kind of just laid back, like, man, this is weird. This is weird. But luckily, I mean, if you stick with fighting for SteelFist, you're never gonna have to do that again, because we don't fight outside, and they got good doctors and medical on their team. You've had quite a few fights for SteelFist. You actually held a belt for SteelFist.
Right.
How do you stack this organization up against other organizations? How do you like fighting for SteelFist? What's your thoughts on this local promotion?
Well, out of all the promotions that I fought for, they have their stuff together. You know what I mean? They promote you really well. They have other aspects of promotions. They got lots of sponsors. Their venues are really nice. You know, I fought for other promotions, and they had some perks in there, you know, some nice things that I'm like, oh, wow, I wish they had that in this one or that one, you know what I mean? But for the most part, when it comes to smooth running and getting in and out and everything like that, they had the better of the promotions that I fought for. And I mean, I've been down to, out of state and been down to Vegas and watched those fights. And they're really cool promotions and everything like that. But there's a lot of stuff that they're just like, let slide by. They're just like, this is kind of shady how this is working, you know what I mean? So when it comes to all that, they're on top of it. And I just enjoy fighting for them. They always seem to be looking out for you. And if there's a fight to be lined up, they'll try to set it up. You know what I mean? There's not any, controversies or anything like that. Any favoritism. Yeah. So if there's a fight that they think will be a good fight and you're okay to fight that guy and that guy's okay to fight you, they'll try to make it, try to make it work. It may not be that right then and there, but it'll be in the near future. And so that's what I like about their promotion. And, before I even started fighting, I was watching them on Sunday nights, watching everybody fight and everybody like that. And, you kind of get that amped up feeling, man, I really want to do this. I should have done this years ago, whatever. But, so that kind of got me, SteelFist was the first one that I saw locally because they were on TV and everything like that. So, they've always been one I wanted to fight for. When they gave me an opportunity to fight for them, and, I just kind of ran with it. Now, like I said, I fight for other people just because it happened to be where the fight was at the time, and that's just kind of what happened. So, and, I wanted to not necessarily pad my record or anything like that, but I wanted to get as much experience as possible because if I decided I was going to go pro one of these days, I wanted to have a good enough fights under my belt that I'd say, okay, I'm ready. Yeah. And so that's why, you fight for whoever's available at the time, and especially those short notice fights. I've done really well in short notice fights. So like I said, if you know less about your opponent, sometimes you tend to do better in the fight because you don't overthink anything. You just go in there and do what you know how to do, and hope it works out. So
well, I know SteelFist has always enjoyed having you. Talking to the guys out there. You're one of those fighters that they know they can call on short notice. They know if they offer you a fight, you're going to take it. Mm-hmm. They know you're going to show up. They know you're going to be on weight. They know you're going to fight. Right. And as a promotion, that's all you can ask for. Right. Really, if we offer you a fight, take it. If you're going to show up to the fight, be on weight. And then once you show up, give us a fight. That's all we ask. So I know you're one of the ones that they really enjoy having, and they think highly of you. So so have you? I mean, do you see, this is always the tough part, is the trash talking part of the show that I like to do. Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's not doing it. It's not going to pull up. Because you're a pretty serious dude. You joke around a little bit, but you don't like the goof around, dumb stuff that I enjoy. You're not as goofy as me. And so I was like, man, am I going to have Eric do the trash talking segment? But yeah, I'm absolutely going to make you do it. I'm going to pull it up on my phone because it's not pulling up on the tablet. So do you know how this works? Have you seen how I do this? No. I'm
not going to say I have.
Bro. Come on, you're supposed to support me in this. So basically, this is what it is. I think trash talking is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty stupid, especially when you don't really have anything bad to say about the person. If you generally don't like the person, then fine, you're gonna talk bad about them, and you're gonna end up fighting anyway. So that's cool. But like this whole we've seen just in this past week how trash talking has gone out of control between Khabib and Conor. Like they're talking about each other's families. Khabib's calling Conor a rapist. Like they've gone too far with it. And so I have this segment where I have fighters talk trash, but it's generated off some internet generator, and so it's not your words, it's just some stupid thing, because when too many fighters are doing it now, it sounds scripted and made up and dumb anyways. And so I'm like, I'm making it even more stupid by just doing this absolutely ridiculous insult generator. So what it's going to be is you're going to hit that red button right there. It's going to generate 4 words for you. So you're going to say, on April 26th, I'm going to beat Nick Martinez because he's and then you're going to say the 4 words, and then that's it. It's done. Okay. So go ahead and hit the red button when you're ready. It's going to generate the insult for you. You say it, then we'll be good with it.
That's what I'm supposed to say.
Yep.
All right, on April 26th, me and Nick Martinez going down, man. I'm going to do some leg reeking nose pile.
What? He's a leg reeking nose pile?
That's what it said. Leg. I had no idea what that means.
Leg reeking nose pile. Yeah. See, that's probably the dumbest one I've ever seen. I almost want you to do another one, but I'm not going to make you do it. You did it, and I appreciate you for doing that, playing that little game with us. Everybody, make sure you come out to this fight April 26th at SteelFist. If you are not in the, I believe it's the Wasatch. If you're not in the, Salt Lake County.
50-mile radius.
Yeah. If you're not in Salt Lake County or Weber County, go to Blitz TV and get it, get the pay-per-view. If you're in that radius or you can make it out to the fight, come out to the Union Event Center and get your tickets at SteelFistFight.com. You follow us on Instagram at SteelFistFight. You find us on Facebook at SteelFist Fight Night. And then you find this podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share on YouTube or iTunes at Undefeated by Choice. Eric, thanks for coming out, brother. I look forward to seeing you fight. Let's see you get it done. El Diablo. Everybody be good to yourself. Be good to each other. I love you.
Let's begin now. Let's begin now.